So the problem that we have is salt and pepper shakers, and they wear out. They don't work properly after a certain amount of time. So this problem's come in. We need to identify the problem. We need to frame it. So we can look at the problem in different ways. We can say, why do people use salt and pepper at all? Why don't we just put the salt straight in the food? Then we wouldn't have to use the salt and pepper shakers. Or maybe we should be dispensing the salt and pepper in a different way, so we don't need this item at all. But the problem framing that I've come up with today is dispensing salt and pepper reliably for use with food. So the problem I'd like to brainstorm is, how can we reliably dispense salt and pepper with a device better than this? Okay? So the idea is, there's some rules about this brainstorming. We're going to encourage wild ideas. So any idea, doesn't matter if it's feasible or not. I know all of you guys are engineers, so try and think out of the box. Unfeasible ideas, any ideas, we can brainstorm them. Quantity not quality. So we want to come up with as many ideas as we can. We're not interested in the quality ideas. Defer judgment. So let's not judge each other's ideas, let's just try and brainstorm ideas and work on them. Build on ideas of others. So those are the 4 main rules, okay? So we'll start. And I'd like you to start jotting down some ideas about what you think about a better way to do salt and pepper grinders is.
Okay, individually.
Individually, and then we can come in. So Dave, what do you think?
With a laser.
Cracking and breaking it up with a laser, okay? Yeah, that's a good idea. Don't worry about too expensive for now, let's just get the ideas flowing.
Yep.
So if we were cracking and breaking it up with a laser, how would we do that? Cracking up with a laser.
If you could fit a powerful enough laser in there that had
so effectively what you're talking about is potentially a solid block of salt, which we then break off with a laser.
Yeah.
So we have a device which has a solid block of salt, and we fire a laser at it and it breaks the salt up, so it doesn't have any moving parts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great idea. So it's a solid salt, and it has no moving parts. Okay, great. What ideas have we got, Rich?
Well, that's some sort of crushing device instead of the grinder, conventional grinding.
Yeah.
Like a crushing, so it impacts.
So it just has compression,
Yeah,
doesn't have any rotary thing. Okay, that's a great idea. We'll jot that one down.
I was going to say that.
Okay. Well, my idea is, how about why don't we just go to sachets? Why do we have these devices at all? So
Pre-ground salt.
yeah, pre-ground salt, exactly. Okay, pre-ground salt. No moving parts required there, is there? Okay, what else have we got going on? How else have we solved this?
Just from experience.
We'll sketch out, Dave, how this laser idea might work in a physical form. Just roughly, I mean, just start sketching some stuff and see what you come up with there.
Should the others kind of...
Yeah?
Perhaps a system of mirrors which then reflect off to give you some sort of grid.
Yeah.
That then you've got an activator which pushes the salt down into the laser beam, and that.
Or maybe you do that by hand. I mean, maybe we can have this compartment here is where the laser beam is shooting around all these mirrors, and maybe there's a threaded component here with a solid block of salt
which pushes it down into
and this has a handle here, and you can slowly screw this down, and it moves this way, and it hits the laser beam, which then breaks up the solid block onto the food.
Yes.
Okay, that's a really interesting idea. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Do I carry on talk about the laser?
Yes. What do you think? Any more?
How big is this?
Well, we're assuming that you could make it small enough to fit in something like that.
Yeah, so it might be some similar form to that. But actually there's nothing to stop. I mean, this form happens to be round, but it could be any shape, couldn't it? It doesn't have to be round.
It doesn't necessarily have to be something that you can bring to the table. It could be something that's mounted on the wall and you move your plate around underneath it.
There's another great idea. So maybe the salt and pepper dispensers don't need to be on the table. It could be wall-mounted salt and pepper dispensers.
You take your food
idea.
to, and in fact, actually, you could then have some form of control that says, I want X grams of salt that come.
Great. So this is great for people who are on diet. You could say, actually, how many milligrams of salt do you want?
And perhaps you could combine that with the salt and pepper pot together, so that they both contain. So you could say, I want X amount of pepper and X amount of salt.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Perhaps
really
it mixes it together.
So. Yeah, we're starting to come up with some really great ideas. So this is number one at the moment. So this is effectively a wall-mounted, laser-operated wall-mounted, laser-operated, controllable dispenser.
To produce, to give you a measured, mixed output of salt and pepper combined.
What a great idea. Okay, that's really good. So we started off with a laser, we've had some input there, we've ended up with a wall-mounted, dispensable, accurately dispensing device. So that's really quite exciting, that trip of how we've developed that. Okay, Rich, so we were going back to your idea, we were looking at
compression.
Compression, yeah. How might that work?
I don't know, either you could have 2 flat plates, salt, pepper, drops down in, gets crushed, maybe a bit of rotating there. I thought maybe 2 rotating drums.
Yeah.
So it falls through, that crushes it.
Oh, okay. So that in that way, there's going to be less wear.
A lot less wear.
Oh.
They would. Yeah.
Okay, so sketch that up how that might work.
You'd have your hopper up here, drums, some sort of chain or mechanism that links them together.
Yeah.
Gearing. Salt, pepper goes through, gets crushed onto the food.
Great. So it starts off as a solid, or
starts off in
a form.
Yeah,
have to be
rock salt.
Yeah.
Bigger chunks. Exactly.
Okay.
Similar to what you use now.
The pepper, for example, doesn't come in solid form.
Well, no, that is its form, isn't it?
So you'd have to manage that as opposed to a solid rock.
So actually, that's interesting. So if we get the pepper in these type of corns, we have to make sure this area here is big enough to trap them. Otherwise, it'd just be bouncing about.
And small enough so they don't come out.
Yeah, or maybe a textured barrel, like with a.
Okay. And aesthetically, how would that look? I mean, would that look nice? Because obviously we can't keep this form.
The barrels wouldn't have to be huge, would they? I mean,
no, okay.
So you could maybe a rectangular base.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here is a barrel-designed salt dispenser. Okay, great. That's really interesting. And presumably the advantages of this are...
you have a lot less wear. The
Yeah.
teeth don't wear out on the grinder.
Yeah.
You have a lot less mechanical components. Maybe you could put an electric motor on it so they spin.
Electric motor, that's a great idea, yeah.
And a light.
And a light.
As opposed to a rotary motion like these, perhaps it has a handle, perhaps it has a crank handle.
Yeah.
You're able to get more energy into that handle.
Okay. And so that's a great idea. So barrel grinder, light plus light, that's excellent. And is there anything else you might want to add to it from a functionality point of view?
Well, perhaps you might need to move these drums further. Perhaps that's a user configurable.
So user configurable drums.
So you can if you like larger chunks of pepper or salt, you can do that, or you can.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. So with your design, Rich, you can actually essentially adjust the particle size of the salt and pepper. All right, that's excellent. Okay. What do you think, Alan? Just particle size.
You could put a microprocessor in it.
Yes.
Which would then allow.
Microprocessor.
It could allow automatic adjustment of this. So instead of having a fixed size when you've chosen your size, it could produce multiple.
So you could actually vary the output. So when you have a portion of pepper, you could have multiple sizes within that.
Yeah.
If you're putting a microprocessor in there, you could also get it to measure maybe the amount of salt and pepper left in the.
Measure. So we're back down to this thing where it's quite cool for us to be able to measure the amount. So that's
so you're getting not too much.
Measure amount of salt, pepper. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Everybody says flavour to taste. Well, perhaps you work out what your taste is in milligrams, and then
Yeah. And with this world of conscious dieting, etc., that's really interesting. Okay, Adam, what was your concept you were coming up with there?
It's interesting that is stainless.
Yeah, stainless.
And this is plastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Salt is a soft material. Is
that why they do that?
Okay. Corrosive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stainless
is
very corrosive.
No, so perhaps they're in the wrong
way around.
Yeah. But actually, I find that the salt plastic never works properly. It always wears.
That wears.
Okay, so what did you think, Adam? What's a good way you might think about solving this problem?
I would take probably this off the shelf and look at modifying the materials it's made of. Because I think there's been a lot of research in this already.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay, that's interesting. So you've got existing. So you want to build on existing research?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Build on existing research. And how might we think about modifying that?
Certainly with the salt, we'd look at seeing how the salt would perform in the stainless steel mill. And possibly look at using different materials.
Hard material for the grinder. So
perhaps titanium element.
Diamond.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm just thinking about, it's quite interesting here, that Dave's come up with this idea of a wall-mounted dispenser, and we're all touching this, and obviously there are germs on this, and etc, etc. The wall-mounted dispenser could be a sensor, a proximity sensor, so you just put your plate up to that and you get salt and pepper and nobody has to touch anything. It doesn't even need to be wall-mounted, it could be a dispenser that's on the table, maybe that's up like this, and you just pass your plate underneath and it automatically dispenses the salt. And so therefore you're not having to touch anything.
And perhaps the individual plate could have an RFID chip or something in it, for example, so you have your plate and the dispenser knows how much salt and pepper you like on your food. So you never have to touch anything at all. Looking at that design that's on the table, if there was a funnel in there, so you effectively had a funnel-shaped device that would funnel the salt into the.
Why don't they do that? Funnel design.
So you don't get
great.
So you don't get the bits and pieces, the salt or the pepper building up at the bottom. You can't actually get to.
We've talked about some existing improvement designs. We've talked about some other fundamental different designs of where we might crush salt. Because we were based on our original problem of the fact that we could frame the problem in different ways. We could say, well, actually, we're trying to eliminate these. We don't need them, but we've decided to keep the problem of actually we do want to have these as dispensers for food, and how do we improve them, or how do we redesign them? And already we've come up with potentially a fantastic idea of having a hands-free salt and pepper system, which is great for hygiene and everything else. It's actually sounds like a really good product. So yeah. That's interesting. Well, thank you very much. Okay. Great. We've done a great brainstorming session there, so I just want to really summarise that and get everything on the board. So the first idea we talked about was a wall-mounted laser dispenser. Okay. And then we talked about a barrel design dispenser. Okay, and then we went into Adam's design improvements. And what were we looking at there, Adam?
Looking at different materials to avoid corrosion for salt. Possibly swapping the salt and the pepper around. Maybe we've got it in the wrong mills there.
Salt, pepper reversal.
And also increasing the hole size for where the corns fall through.
Hole size.
Large corns stuck.
Yeah. And we were talking about a funnel, weren't we?
Yeah. Possibly some screws to force that down.
Improved dispensing. Okay, pre-grinding, which is part of Richard's design.
Part of the improvement.
Oh, improvement. Okay, pre-grinding is part of the improvements.
Microprocessor control.
Yes, microprocessor control.
That'll so dispensing. You can limit salt intake.
Portion control.
Yeah.
Portion control. What a great idea. So people can actually know how much they consume. Great. Okay, and just the points on the laser mounted dispenser was we had a great hygiene plus there, didn't we? We were talking about the fact that we've got no hands. No hands are going to be touching that, which is amazing. So we're going to have a great hygiene plus for that one. Barrel design dispenser. Well, that was all about improvement on. We were going to use a solid block, were we?
No, we were going to use the same material.
Oh, but we were able to adjust. Adjustment. Yeah.
And it was going to be a lot harder wearing because there was less.
Adjustment for particle size.
And actually gives you a better and improved method of entry of the salt because you've got perhaps a hopper in there.
Yeah, exactly. And Adam was working on basically design improvements to better an original design. Okay, great. And then microprocessor control, limit salt production, consumption, so people can see how much they consume. Great.
From a dietary point of view.
Yeah, so that's diets. Fantastic. And what else did we have? I know that we were talking briefly off the camera about an ultrasonic idea. So Dave's using a laser to break up the solid block, but actually we're talking about the possibility of doing a ultrasonic system.
Mm-hmm.
We've got ultrasonic dispenser. Fantastic. What else did we brainstorm?
There's going to be a light on part of the
light.
so you can actually see where you're putting your
dispenser
salt.
with light. That's a really good idea. Is that about summing up what we came up with? I think so. RFID chips in the plate. That was a good one. So it's an RFID ready dispenser. I like that.
Or actually, if it was a commercial process,
yeah,
and they had a disposable microwave meal, for example, and they wanted to dispense salt into that could have a chip in it. So
okay, that's really interesting. So that could be for like mass packaging, instant meals type thing.
Instant meals, different meals require different flavouring, different.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Mass packaging. So you could link that to the RFID chip.
Or a barcode.
A barcode. Yeah. Oh, actually, so we should have a barcode reader on that too. Great. Barcode reader, so that sort of links into the same thing there. And then issue the salt by the requirement. Fantastic. Good, so does that about sum up our creative session?
Yep.
Good. Good, thank you very much, James.